that'd be something I think for you guys to take home too. In this conversation of servicing your clients in that licensing space, if vendor fairs come up in conversation ever, or if there's questions like, should we do it, should we not do it? We'll tell you from the vendor perspective, it is a huge asset to be able to connect with folks, meet who they are, and just service the campus through your licensed vendors in a smarter way. It just really helps connect the importance of licensing to the people that are actually buying the stuff on the campus, and reduce the amount of people that are going rogue and doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah. And I even think, like, on top of just, that relationship piece of, like, connecting with your clients and stuff like that, that part is great. But I also think that, from our perspective, just getting, a lay of the land, seeing what kind of environment it is, seeing, just kind of taking a look at the students, seeing what they're wearing, just kind of getting an overall feel for the area, seeing what the retail market is like. I think that really helps us when we go back, and even just working with our partners and seeing, what licensee partners would fit well, what new opportunities we could bring you guys that would really resonate. So I think that's another part, like, huge part of the campus visits is really just getting a lay for the land and, understanding what fits.
It's huge, the local flavor. I mean, that's right. After every meeting, right, the question is, hey, where should we eat tonight? Where do I got to go that the students go, right? Where does the faculty and staff, I need to check out a couple places while I'm on campus, right? I want to feel the culture. I want to feel what that campus life is like. Again, another reason to get to campus, and that's a story you tell for, I've been to so many campuses at this point over the last 15 years, and I can remember just a lot of these different places where you're sitting there, you're taking a picture at the famous rock or the statue, or whatever, all these things, right? The tradition that's there. It's just really cool stuff to experience, especially when you're working with these campuses on a daily basis.
I love the call out for lunches and dinners, having that connection to the town that the university might reside in, and those local spots that aren't actually part of the university, but they are kind of in a tangent way. It's been a huge thing for us to be able to connect with our clients in a little bit of a different way too, and share a meal where they like to go, and it just gives you another thing that you can connect with folks on.
Yeah, and when you look at our partners and who we're working with, a lot of our main contacts on campus are wearing a lot of different hats, right? So they're not living in the licensing world every day. So our importance to be able to keep a pulse on what's going on and understand their community will help us bring opportunities to them that they are going to understand probably is a good fit because they know that we know them.
And I would imagine in your client profile of the kind of mid-size university, you've got that role of licensing residing within maybe an athletic director or within business services or university communications. But it's not a sole job. It's another thing.
Yeah, very rarely.
So I would imagine that's probably an asset for you guys to come in and be able to give them some time back and help them manage all that.
Yeah, provide value. To do something for them that they wouldn't be able to do without us, frankly. And that's why, we're able to build that relationship because they're so appreciative of it. Yeah. We have our regular check-ins and our meetings to talk through what we're working on, but when we log off, we're the ones rolling up our sleeves and getting to work. They know and they trust that we're doing that, so they don't have to worry about it.
There's that service first.
Yeah, and you raised a great point about the market. Like that's a huge part about what we do when we get into the campus community is go try to talk to the store managers at your brick and mortar retails. We've also built a great relationship with a lot of mom and pop businesses too in our communities, because those are important partners too. They might be alum owned, they may be a supporter of athletics. They're the ones that are showing up to the games on Saturdays, and them feeling like they can be a part of it and carry merchandise and offer that to their customers is important.
That's a great call out. The Spirit Shop in town and all those local retailers, they're definitely part of that overall campus community, even if they're not owned by the university. They're a part of the community though in a different way, and that's cool that you get hands-on even with that style of an outfitter.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why obviously we're on the client servicing side, so we're on the front end with the schools, but getting into the market and getting the licensees acclimated with us is important too, because if they have an issue submitting artwork or they have a question about reporting royalties, that never happens. What is that? But if they have any questions or issues or concerns, they know where to go, and there's a face behind it. And even down to them trusting us too, where they may have a product category that they don't have a vendor that can source it for them.
Yeah.
Well, it's very likely that amongst our licensee base, we can help find someone and connect them with them.
So they're coming to you then as a solution provider.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, especially for those who might be a little bit more traditional mom and pop shop sort of feel. And a lot of our communities are like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So with the nature of multiple hats being worn by different roles on campus, I'll focus on athletics because I feel like that's probably the most common area that you see this responsibility falling within. At these institutions that are then jumping into being licensed for the first time, it's residing in athletics. This has to be a heavy lift at a surface level, but you guys are coming in to make it not a heavy lift.
Yeah, I mean, the launch isn't really super difficult. I mean, obviously we need to know, who all of their vendors are, right? So we can help them get through the proper process, and we provide the same education to them on that side as we do, with the schools.
Good for you.
Once we get them set up in our system and everything and get everyone on board, it's really just about education to make sure everyone's on the same page. We've done it in person a handful of times, but we gave a virtual licensing 101 presentation to the entire team at Shelton State Community College last week.
Awesome.
So it's just an example of making sure that all of the different constituents, especially those who, those that you guys are working with, the buyers on campus, those are the ones that need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny going back to vendor fairs, how we talked about it earlier, but those are some of the best ones, right? Not where you just have your vendors show up and they're showing you product, right? It comes along with some education, right? Yep. So some of the best ones that we've been to that we still go to every single year, you have that marketing, licensing, communications team involved, right? You have a 30 to hour-long session of here's why it's important to use approved licensed vendors, right? And here are all the ways that you use the mark. Here's why it's important to go and refer to the style guide, right? I think just telling the community and the people on campus about those types of important details is half the battle. So it's really great that you guys do that. And I would highly encourage you to keep doing that with campuses because it goes a long way.
100%.
Yeah, no, you talk about getting in front of some of the headaches that crop up and supporting a campus. Educate, and don't assume that everyone that was there is there all year.
Yep.
You see this revolving door on a college campus right now. There's new people that have come in, and it's a month after you just had the event. So that's outstanding, though, guys.
Yeah, and you even talked about it, on your royalty report episode. I just feel like getting all those people in the same room too to kind of like stimulate the conversation. That's most important. Like, everybody's kind of off in their own little silo on campuses. So anytime that you could get all those people in the same room thinking the same way, I think that really goes a long way as well.
Yeah. Now, since you brought up the royalty report, I got to ask. You guys started a podcast this year. We're obviously here on this podcast, but what inspired the podcast on your side and how that vision kind of came to life, and how's it going so far?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that, it really kind of started I think it was just kind of like a random day. And, Ben and I were sitting out at the table. Sometimes we'll be off in our own office, but we have a kind of main table in our office. So we were kind of sitting out there. I think Brian walked in and, he kind of just pitched the idea. He was like, how would you guys feel about, starting a podcast? And he kind of gave us the autonomy to kind of just run with it. So I think that, that day we just kind of sat down, a little bit of help from ChatGPT, kind of thinking about names, brainstorming names. And then we kind of naturally came up with the royalty report outside of that because you know how ChatGPT gets blurts out a bunch of nonsense. But, it helped. It helped the strategic direction. And, we came up with the royalty report. And I think, next step after that is finding a host. We really wanted to focus on not having the host be one of us, but have it be an external person because it's not like a sales pitch for us. It's really it's something that's wasn't currently available in the licensing industry. Nobody's really having those conversations and talking about licensing centric stuff. Yeah. So I think that was really the goal. And from there, we thought about a host. Brian at the time had recently just done an interview with Casey Smurthwaite of Athletics Admin. He has a ton of industry knowledge, ton of industry connections. Great guy. I've gotten to build a very close relationship with him in the past couple of months. But yeah, we picked him to be our host. Brian kind of pitched him the idea. He was with it, and we kind of just went from there. And I think it's kind of just been an evolution. It's not something that I necessarily went to school for, or like any of us, and it's not really an area that we're all technically versed in. But I think that with the help of Casey, it's been really smooth, and we've continued to grow. We recently just released our last episode with the Big West Commissioner, Dan Butterly. So I think that was a pretty big guest. And just outside of that, just being able to kind of talk about just cool activations, we talked about something that we recently did with the Atlantic 10 Conference for their 50th anniversary. We made the Aurelian Reserve licensed bourbon with Bespoke and Spirits in Atlantic 10. So
cool.
That's awesome.
Having a place to highlight stories like that, just getting that out there. And it's not even just for us, it's just for the licensing industry as a whole, just to spark conversation, create some ideas. So, yeah. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's a great opportunity for, our partners or the people that we're working with, because they may not have that opportunity otherwise. And, for the A10 to be able to get on and speak to that and the big success that it was a great time for our buddy Kelvin over there. And yeah, it's just, I think it's been really good so far. We're obviously appreciative that you came on, and we've had a great list of guests, and I know we have some coming up the pipeline, but I think it's been what we expected so far and a little bit more.
No, it's great to see a podcast in that space, and you guys are doing a great job with it. And love the name, even if it's Chat GPT.
No, that was actually original. We
threw those out.
Original.
Those got thrown away.
Yeah, those ones got. Yeah, that was just inspiration.
That's good stuff. When it comes to ultimately how you look at your portfolio, and I know there's an announcement recently, a new campus out west. I'll let you, Ben, if you want to say, you can say. But
yeah, UC Davis.
UC Davis, the Aggies, we know them well.
Great partners of ours. Love UC Davis.
It's an exciting opportunity for you guys. It's a major win, if you will, to bring them into your portfolio. So what are you looking forward to meeting and servicing the Davis team as they start to work with you all?
Yeah, I think, we're obviously over the moon about it, really excited. Obviously fortunate for their faith in us.
Yeah.
It's not a secret when you look at our client base that they're, a bit larger than the rest of our consortium. And I think we're just really excited to get in there, work really hard, and show the world that we can do this at this level. And I'm confident, we're confident that we're going to do a great job. They have a great team over there. I was fortunate enough to go out in January and meet and take a tour of that campus, which, oh my God, that is certainly an environment.
Yeah.
We're just really, really excited about it. And I think there's ways that we can come in and add a lot of value. And I think that's why they ultimately put their faith in us.
Oh, that's great. And it's always been a brand and a campus that's always looking to do things a little bit differently. And they have different branding elements that they tap into from the cow patterns and different things because they're an agriculture school.
Yep.
There's some fun stuff that they do, which is exciting.
Yeah, we talked about campus visits. I've probably been to that campus, 3 or 4 times at this point.
You get hit by a bike?
No, you got hit by a bike. There's a great spot. There's a what?
The windstorm.
Yes, that was crazy for their vendor event outside, but there's a great burrito spot out there, Guad's Taco. You got to go there next time you're out there. It's a great spot. Great spot.
Yeah, for those who don't know, it's the bicycle capital of the world, the country. I don't know. It's
there's so many.
You're like
paths
dodging.
That they have, yeah.
There's a lot out there. Yeah. And I think it's always, exciting to see expansion into a new type of school too. It means you're doing something right and you're doing something different, and it's catching attention. So shout out to the Davis team for hitching their wagon to you, and I know you guys are going to do a great job working together.
Yeah, and I mean, we're excited for all of our July 1 starts too. United States Coast Guard Academy is another great one for us. We're starting with the Landmark Conference, or we have started Pacific University as well.
Okay.
Back in April, we started University of Jamestown and Shelton State Community College. And then we have, we can't speak on it, but we have, some that coming up the pipeline for the fall and January that we're excited about too. So
big things to come.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Now you mentioned earlier some of the conference conversations you've had on the podcast, but I think that's a pocket of licensing people don't often think about is the conference itself often has its own license.
Yep.
So what's it like working with a conference license versus a campus license?
Yeah, it's a little bit non-traditional. They face different problems than somebody might on a campus. You're not dealing with the same level of infringement in some cases, although we do work with the SWAC. So when Dion said if who ain't swag if I ain't swag, or whatever he said. Like, that became an enforcement nightmare that we ended up, dealing with, which was, it was a really cool experience to see the inside of. But, it's focused on other things. It's focused on their championships. Obviously, if it is a conference that has, like a championship that they really prioritize and put themselves behind, like the Atlantic 10, their basketball tournament's really important. Having on-site, presence and merchandising, and then online as well. They're constantly looking for good e-commerce solutions to be able to promote their school's brands as they win championships. I know we've talked about this a good amount of times. So that's really what we focus on. The anniversary that the Atlantic 10 celebrated, their 50th anniversary as a league, that presented some new opportunities. Julian mentioned the Aurelian Reserve. They came to us and asked, hey, can you get us a bourbon? And we found Bespoken, and we had some great meetings, and it ended up being really cool. We did pre-sale online, direct to consumer for the bottle, and we'll show pictures. But we did pre-sale online. They had it in the venue at PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh. That's cool. And then also some of the hotel and restaurant partners locally also carried it.
Very cool.
So that's just kind of like a unique example of something we've done.
And I'm glad you went back to the bourbon example. That's something we've seen a rising trend, and we've got a coffee up there on the shelf from George Mason. Shout out to David. But this rise of kind of food and drinks and things that are in this licensed space. How, from like a licensing standpoint, how hands-on are you with like helping vet? These are going to be the partners that could make your beer, or that could make the distillery that could make your whiskey, or whatever that is.
Yeah, I think it's, there's hesitations from campus that there may not be with a T-shirt, right? They're a little bit more concerned about it. Liabilities are potentially higher. So we obviously have the infrastructure in place to protect the university from that, but it's really market dependent and relationship dependent. So if there's an alum in the community that owns a brewery or a winery, for St. Lawrence up in the Adirondacks, we did a licensed maple syrup. So it's market dependent, and depending on who's around and has interest in partnering with the university, we can do some really cool stuff. But it's very hands on. It's a little bit non-traditional.
Yeah, outside of the alcohol stuff, you're seeing a lot of the food stuff, right? Like you said, the syrup. You're seeing coffee, barbecue sauce, hot sauce. A lot of these things.
Ice creams.
Yeah, ice creams.
Well, the olive oil at Davis.
Yes. Olive oil. Yeah.
It just goes back into getting on those campuses and understanding that, because if you're not visiting your campus partners and kind of getting in the community and seeing what's around and seeing what resonates, you wouldn't be able to even know that that maple syrup is an opportunity or something like that. So that's just another kind of reason why doing stuff like that is so important.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And to your point, it just ties that regional flair all together. Mm-hmm. Now, we talked a little bit about how you guys each got started at Nexus way at the beginning of this conversation. Some internships were in the fold, but I think a career in the licensing space is never really someone's plan. You find out about this industry and you see the opportunity that's attached to it. How did you really find out about the internship, and how did your career kind of really come to fruition?
Yeah, let's go chronological, because there actually is a timeline to it all. So
I got paper, I can map it out.
Yeah, so I was a 2022 graduate of college.
Okay.
I was going into my final semester. I needed to do what was considered like my big internship, a 400-hour internship for credit.
Yeah.
Right, and I only had some electives left, some art classes and whatnot. So I went to he was like the director of experiential learning, and I said, hey, what other opportunities do I have to just get out there and work and, not really take these classes that don't provide me with a ton of value?
Yeah.
So I actually was able to do a 600-hour internship for 12 credits, and I only had to take one online class. But that's bringing the story along here, in that, they would send out internship opportunities to us in the department on a weekly basis. I saw the Nexus posting, and for me, I kind of always knew, pro sport wasn't really my thing. I mean, if you know anything about Rochester, you're not going to get very far unless you're going to the Red Wings, which is a AAA baseball team.
Yeah.
So I was really looking for, something that would keep me at home, to be with my family, and something a little bit more business oriented. So I saw the internship posting, and I went in and I asked, hey, what do you know about this? And he didn't know anything yet, because it was brand new. So he was like, all right, go meet with him and come back and tell me how it goes. So Brian and I had lunch. It was a great conversation. I wanted to do it. I ended up doing my 600 hours and was fortunate enough. I guess I did a good enough job to be able to stick around. And then that was 2022, and it was kind of ongoing from there. And then Julian.
Yeah. So basically how I started, I played football in college. So between that and I was also a first generation student. So a lot of time tied up between community service and just practice and all that stuff. So I pushed my internship until after I graduated. So I graduated in 2024, and then I was going to look for an internship that next fall. So, kind of throughout that summer, I'm kind of very similar to Ben. I wasn't really appealed to, like working for a professional sports team. I kind of just wanted to see something with a little bit more growth. I was looking more towards like an agency and some type of facet, whether it be like marketing, like kind of like a Wasserman, something like that. Applying all summer, not really getting too many places. And then really, I kind of just started with a conversation with one of my boys who I used to play football with, who was actually one of Ben's childhood best friends.
Shout out to Lex.
Cool. Yep.
There you go, Lex.
The small world of Rochester.
We'll tag Lex when we launch the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, he told me that, I should hit up Ben. I had a conversation with Ben, came in the office, met with everybody. It was great. And then, interned for a couple of months. I think maybe like halfway through the internship, Brian offered me a position to kind of start full time. And, it was kind of a no-brainer to me, small kind of family-like atmosphere. And, you're not just a number. That was kind of the biggest thing that really stuck out to me above everything else is, Brian really believes in us. He gives us a lot of autonomy to kind of, I wouldn't say do what we want, but make our own moves, be independent.
Make some plays.
Yeah, exactly.
Make a play, will we?
Exactly. Yeah. So
don't play scared.
Exactly.
Yeah,
All the sports analogies.
Exactly. He was the quarterback too, and I was the running back. So he did a little handoff, and he lets us make plays. So
there you go.
That's kind of really what attracted me to Nexus, and been going since then.
Yeah. So stumbled into it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, it's similar stories on our side. It's not an industry that anybody really knows much about until you stumble into it and you learn about it and you find opportunity attached to it. I'll say to hear the background about how your Nexus journeys began, your licensing careers started. Any words of wisdom you'd give to any young listeners that might have an interest in learning more about what the heck this licensing thing is all about?
Yeah, I would say, we're fortunate enough to have great leadership internally who have taught us a lot, and we've been able to grow. But there's people around, like even you guys, you've been a great resource for me and having conversation about the inner workings of the industry. Like there's people out there who really want to help. Yeah. And whether that be internally or externally, like be a sponge, really listen. Don't be scared to ask someone for something. It even comes down to, we've always been told, don't be scared to ask, a client that you have a relationship with to make a referral or something like that as an example, so don't be shy, put yourself out there, and just, work hard is the pivotal of it.
Yeah. And I think, like your marketing, your sales jobs, like those are great, but I think that anytime you get into a niche and do something that not a lot of people even know about, let alone can do, I think that makes you a very valuable person. And I think that that's also something that I learned kind of through my short journey in this is, there's not many people, let alone young professionals, who kind of know about licensing and know the ins and outs. So, it just kind of gives us that little edge. So I think, seeking out a niche industry and kind of don't be afraid to, push away an unknown opportunity.
Yeah. And I think find something that you're passionate about. Yeah. Like our sales pitch is, like, we know we're going to provide value for you, like whether you see value in that and you think it's right for your campus or not, that may be a different decision. But we wake up every day and we're excited to hustle and grind because we believe in our product and we believe in our ability to help people grow and build relationships. And I'm just so thankful for that because I wasn't someone who was going to do well in a cubicle or dialing calls all day. Yeah. That's not that wasn't going to be the path for me. So we're just extremely lucky.
Yeah, I love it. You can feel the passion come through. Right?
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier when you got working on Monday mornings, or it's just you don't want to leave. Right? It's just part of your life. It's not something that you have to do. It's something that you enjoy doing, that you want to do, and helping clients and being there for people makes it a lot easier when you have that real passion and. Yeah, you guys are doing some great things.
Yeah, and we know higher ed and college athletics, it's not a 9 to 5, and that trickles down to us too. So like that passion is what what keeps us going when we're traveling on a Sunday night or we're gone all weekend and not seeing our families and stuff like that. So, we're just super, super lucky.
It's outstanding to hear how your core values bleed into all of this. They align with who you gentlemen are and ultimately what you all are doing in Nexus to service your clients. Keep up the great work, guys. It's been outstanding having you on the mic today, sharing the story about everything licensing and the disruption that you guys are doing. Thanks for coming on the club.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.